Here we are, plot 52, and it's a little bit overdue, but the new potatoes, I thought I'd leave them to totally die off because I wasn't really happy with some of the size of the potatoes, so giving them a little bit more time. It's about the limit. As you see, they've really gone in the last sort of week or so really. Now the ones that have totally wilted, they're the Jemson variety, and the ones that are still nice and green, they are the Jersey Royal International Kidney. Now I'm going to dig up the first row, what's left. I think we cleared 4 the spuds plants, and then we'll do the other 2 rows. It's always good to sort of compare the varieties, and those who've watched my videos before will know that we did a little experiment which I will reveal a little bit later in the video. So that's the end of the Jersey Royals. They've all been dug up. Now the first row had 5 potato plants left in the row, and that was the yield. And in the second row we had 4 left, and we've got some decent size new potatoes, really big. Got some tiddlers. So what the experiment was on row 1, which is that yield plus what we had before. I dug a trench, and in that trench I put the manure in, compost, potato fertilizer, dug it a little bit deeper, watered it a little bit more, earthed it up a little bit more, and basically put quite a lot of effort into getting a yield. Now I'd say that's average. It's not amazing, it's okay. And in the second row, which I actually dug a hole for each potato, which was about 9 inches deep, 12 inches deep, till it sort of got down to earth, and I popped the potato in, covered it up, Bob's your uncle, done. And you can see I got a lot less. That's 4 potato plants really there, and that's 5 potato plants. So you can sort of see that it does pay to do a little bit of work, but you're going to get potatoes whatever you do. You just pop it in a hole, and some of those ones over there are actually quite small, and these ones produce the biggest potatoes really, and uniform shape. So no fertilizer, uniform shape. Lots of fertilizer, and you've got some rather weird and wonderful potatoes. Still a couple of big ones. That one's gone a bit green, obviously it got near the surface. So basically a little bit of difference. That one's been sliced with the spade, that happens, but they will taste lovely. So that was the Jersey Royals. Now we're going to dig up the International Kidneys. Does look like I've got a road potato sort of in there. Now another thing that sort of discussed on different forums is when it's actually flowered, you get these little tomato-like fruits on your potatoes, and that's a sign that they're definitely ready to be picked. I think these 2 plants here look like main crop potatoes, possibly, that are either rogues or they just got mixed up. So we're going to dig them all up and see what we got. And in the sanctuary of the shed, the heavens opened on a summer's evening, and it's teeming down. That's the first time that's happened for a while. So anyway, from the shed you can see my neighbours' running beans do look really, really well. The other night I dug up the spinach that was left here, and loads of runners from the strawberry plants, so we'll have to deal with those. But yeah, as you can see, we'll shelter in here 5 minutes or so and see what's happening. And 5 minutes later, it's now really pouring down, as you can probably hear on my shed. It could be the end of the potato digging, because technically I get on my hands and knees and get stuck in and I'm going to get covered in mud. So I think for tonight, guys, we're going to be over. I don't think it's going to dry up. It's pretty heavy rain. It's been raining for about 5 minutes solid and getting heavier. Probably going to clear up a little bit, but not going to dry up enough. And you don't really want to be digging up potatoes in the wet, because the idea is to dry them off a little bit in the humidity, which I did get a little chance to do that, but where I keep my potatoes, they're going to be okay. So yeah, as I said before, that's the end of picking potatoes. But my conclusion is that the potatoes that I used the fertiliser with, if anything, came out sort of unusual sort of shapes, but I did get a better yield. So basically I'm beginning to think that if you want a nice uniform shape that you were going to show, just a deeper hole and possibly no fertiliser, less of a yield but a more sort of conventional sort of shape. And I think next year I'm just going to dig quick holes and stick those spuds in, because to be honest, when you've got a couple of rows, you're going to have enough yield anyway. And I think, if I'm honest, the ones that didn't actually have the fertiliser, whether they taste better or not, I don't know, but they are a better uniform shape. So at the moment, that is a bit of a wrap, and we'll move on to the next job. Back on the spuds, in between showers. Just dug up, it was Jemson the other first early, so I keep getting my names mixed up. So these ones that are a bit wilted, they're Jemson. Now that's 2 lots of potatoes, plants I just dug up, which is slightly less than the international kidneys, Jersey Royals, whatever you want to call them, but not bad sort of size, and a nice sort of waxy skin on that, and just sort of rub it. You won't need to peel that. That's not so flaky, sort of a little bit more solid, so they're going to taste nice. And as you can see, I'll just sort of reveal potatoes there. Not very deep, so that's why you've got to dig them in deep, because they do sort of rise up. We probably needed a little bit more earthing up, possibly even wider rows, so it makes it a little bit easier. But yeah, I'm just going to crack on and dig the rest of this row. That's the whole area dug over. The rain kept off, and believe it or not, that heavy rain didn't even touch the underneath dirt. Once I raked it, I raked off the wet. There's about 1 inch of wet. So 5 minutes, 10 minutes of heavy rain absolutely didn't even touch anything more than 1 inch or 2 underneath. So you can see the first lot of brassicas are coming on leaps and bounds now. We've got the Brussels sprouts on this row, and then we've got Swedes at this end, then we've got Savoy cabbages, round cabbages, and broccoli at the far end. And this is chard, Swiss chard, and there's a combination of the green and the red. So we'll just sort of have a little delve in. Now the red ones, I think you can tell them from looking at the back of the plant. It's slightly different. That's got a nice sort of red, a nice, oh, that's what we don't want to see, a white admiral. And this is what you're up against. So when the rain comes, you've got a slug. Ugh, lovely. And he's going in the river. So every now and again you've got to have a look. Wherever you've got holes, you've got slugs. Massive specimen of a lettuce. We're going a bit off peach now, but that's what happens. Now, lovely sweet peas. That was the yield from the Pentland Javelin. That was almost one whole row. I'm not going to sort of count them, but they're all pretty standard sort of size. Now, I'm going to say golf ball size, which is probably being a bit generous. Some of them are a little bit larger, but not quite tennis ball size. Just a quick look at the nasturtiums, and that turned out to be a lovely plant, that Pennsylman. And my nasturtium's going to grow in between the runner beans. You can see we've got plenty of flowers on those, and the marigolds are doing their job at the bottom. We're going to have to sort of delve in there and see if we've got any runner beans, probably at the bottom, but they're not sort of thickening out. We've had a sort of a bit of a no-show on one of the stakes there, but you can see that one didn't really survive, but we don't think we've got any black fly, but you can see how they're sort of growing, but yeah, they're going quite well.